That shot took place with 11:03 left in the third quarter. It was 8:28. So that's 3 minutes later that they're like, nah, that's not a three-pointer. His foot was on the line or he stepped out of bounds. And so what was previously a 65-57 lead for the Celtics then ends up getting extended 65-64. I agree with him, though, that was not the reason they lost that game.
No, not at all.
But it's stuff like this that we're always going to remember. And you know how loud Heat culture and Heat fans are on social media right now, considering all the disrespect that has been launched at their team throughout the postseason, especially in this series. And I do think that Boston is a more talented team, but that's, moot when it comes to things like this. This should not have cost the Miami Heat those points. Like, if you're going to make a judgment call on that at the time that you did, you don't make that call at all. It should be instantaneous, or it shouldn't happen at all. 3 minutes later, like, what were they looking at? Because the game's still going on at this point.
Correct.
My thing is, like, it's not the refs on the floor who are looking at it. It's somebody else that's, a part of the officiating crew that's not actually in the field of play that had to, like, stop the game to be, and then they came over, the public address announcer said it inside FTX Arena in Miami, like, we're going to be taking off the, the 3-point shot from Max Strus, which was a make initially. And I can understand the displeasure that Heat fans have. I can understand, like, the anger at that type of moment. And I mean, even Eric Spoelstra, like, being in complete shock over something like that happening. Like, this doesn't happen. This happens a lot. Like, they review 3-point shots all the time, and the officials have the right to do that when there's a break in action. It usually doesn't take this long. Like, that's the thing that, like, stresses, me out as a fan, wondering, okay, well, what's next? When are they going to do this again when it's potentially later in the game and then deciding who wins and who loses?
Well, here's the funny thing about it. Oh, by the way, Heat fans, as you're coming back to your seats from halftime with your beer, with your drink, with your beverage.
Or if you're just getting to the game because they're Heat fans.
Yeah, that too, because I was down there for game 2, and I actually seen that live action. But by the way, we're going to take 3 points off that Max Strus scored 3 minutes ago. That makes no sense to me. I didn't even know, Courtney, I swear to you, I didn't even know they can do that.
Yeah.
I just literally thought it was only, hey, if it's a 2-point shot, 3-point shot, we can change that 1-point difference. But a whole 3 minutes later in a game 7, a critical game that it was when the Miami Heat were trying to make a comeback, it's like deflating.
Yeah. It's just like, that's inexcusable in a situation like this. If it was that blatant and that egregious, you would have realized it in the moment. It wouldn't have taken 3 extra minutes of actual game time to come back and decide what had happened. Like, that, to me, doesn't make a whole ton of sense. And that's a judgment call that they didn't have the right to make.
You just brought this up. What if there was 5 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter and a situation like that occurred and you get down to the last minute of the game? Are you going to make that same call?
I don't think they can. I think that they probably saw this as the benefit of the doubt, which, of course, we don't give referees in the NBA or really any sport the benefit of the doubt, because when it changes, it's so rare that points come off the board.
Correct.
Like, that's the thing. Like, if it's, and I use the football example, I mean, like, these pass interferences where there's a late flag thrown, where it usually takes like 3 or 4 seconds, like, there it is. That's one thing. And even late pass, my goodness, we've talked about late pass interference calls that have determined who goes to play in the Super Bowl. So it's not like the NBA is like, in its own right.
I'm not mad about that at all.
I'm sure you're not.
If I'm Atlanta, I'm not mad about that at all.
But I mean, it's just like these judgment calls that these referees are making that. Did it feel probably in that moment like it changed the course of the game? No. But now, of course, as we're looking back in hindsight, realizing that the Heat had a chance to win this game at the end because Jimmy Butler missed a 3-pointer. And yeah, the score was 196, but who knows if they're able to, get a steal there and it's 16 seconds and they're able to force overtime or even go on and win the game. That's when it comes back to counting. That's when it comes back to, well, hindsight now actually makes sense, and we should be looking into it a little bit more closely, because this is such a legitimately controversial call.
It is.
That I don't think, I'm wondering what the reviews are now, like when the officials, there's always like some sort of debrief and download after a series gets over. It's like, what did you guys do well? What did you not do well? I don't know. Like in the NBA, can they turn calls in the way that they can in the NFL? Like to be like, review this again. I mean, not that it matters for anything. They're staying home. Like their season's done. But is there a way to like find more accountability for the referees in these situations? Yes, they do, because this is a call that you don't make in a game 7 of all places. Like when they talk about like let the players play. Let the players play.
Yep.
And I mean, I've seen a lot of different angles on social media, people like zooming in really tight on Max Strus's foot. And I'm watching it again on TV. I don't think he went out of bounds.
I don't think he did either.
I don't.
I've never seen the heel go down out of bounds.
Like, it would be one thing if it was a 2-pointer called a 3-pointer, but he's nowhere close to the line. Like, that is a corner 3 of corner 3s. And I'm looking at his back left heel right now. That's not over the line. If anything, it's hovering.
Yep.
But last I checked, you can do that and still be in bounds in the field of play. I don't get it. It drives me nuts. Like, and I feel like Heat fans aren't going to let this one go, which is going to make it even more obnoxious to read about and see on social media the next couple of days. But if I was a Heat fan, I'd be upset too. It was not a good call, and I think the officials know that. And fortunately, I guess for the sake of the overall flow of the game, it didn't happen under 5 minutes.
But I can say this. The Heat did miss 8 free throws.
Mm-hmm.
They missed 8 free throws, and they shot poorly. When I mean poorly, from the 3-point line.
Yeah.
So that's 2 areas
Wasn't as
right
bad
there.
as the way that they shot in Game 5 when they missed 38 3-pointers, but as a team in Game 6, as Harry had mentioned, they went, let me find it here, 6 of 30 from 3-point range. Not great.
In a Game 7, 20%.
Game 7, yeah.
20% from the 3-point line, and you miss 8 free throws. Not on top of in transition, you were horrible defensively.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus right now.